Hello and welcome. And today I'm really excited. We're going to talk youth pitching, and we're going to be talking to a former state resident of the state of Massachusetts, now living in the great state of Texas, Matt Tabor, formerly of Milton Academy and Arizona Diamondbacks, second round draft pick, Elon baseball commit, co-owner of the Lions Den in Porter, Texas, and also co-owner of PitchSafe. And we're going to be talking all things pitching throughout the balance of the remainder of 2025 and beyond. And my son Tyler will join us, but today we're going to talk with Matt. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Appreciate you, Walt. Thanks for having us. This will be good.
Well, I really think that this is a really great topic with regard. I get lots of questions with regard to youth pitching. We talk a lot about college and professional pitching, but parents are looking for information pertaining to young pitchers. So I thought we would start there, and I thought we would kind of discuss the topic of safe pitching mechanics for young athletes. Usually around 8 or 9 when they start pitching, all the way up and through that middle school age of like 14 or 15. Is that something that you deal with at the Lions Den on a regular basis, those types of age groups?
Yeah, definitely. And just to start, we kind of see the same thing in every single athlete of that age. They all kind of, do the same, really kind of one, poor movement pattern that really affects everything down the chain, right? And it's kind of like this weird kind of lean back, really, is what I see a lot of guys do, where they kind of cave into their back knee. And the way that I fix it is whether it's a parent or a coach or whatever, it's a super fix. I just tell the child or tell the parent, hey, get into a hitting stance, right? Would you ever hit like that? And all of a sudden they start to understand that hitting and pitching is the same move, right? The only thing with hitting is you're kind of coming onto the ball a little bit, right? Where with pitching we're getting over the ball, but from a lower half standpoint, it's the same exact thing. And that helps guys a lot. Helps them get in the zone. Helps them start to use their lower half a lot better. Helps them not to set their torso up in such a position where their arms just flying way out and kind of putting extra stress on the elbow and the shoulder. So
Well, some of these questions that have been sent in by most of them are from parents and some of them from youth coaches. But I really think for all the parents that are watching, I really want to encourage you. First of all, the Lions Den, they're on all the social media platforms, Instagram, X. You can obviously find them on occasion. I believe you guys have some video content as well that I see on Instagram. I encourage you to follow the Lions Den. You get access to everybody there with regard to youth pitching instruction, aftercare, recovery, strength training ideas, and plans, programs for young pitchers of all ages, really, as well as some hitters, but they're really pitching orientated for the most part. So, Matt, we want to start with a great question that came in from our neck of the woods, home of Tyler Beede, Auburn, Massachusetts. And the question is, what are the essential pitching mechanics young athletes should master to ensure safe, competitive throwing and pitching to prevent elbow or shoulder injuries, really in both youth baseball and softball?
that's a great question. I think it kind of touches on what I mentioned before, right? It all starts with the lower half, and I think an easy way to start is just say, hey, get in your hitting stance, right? Most guys stay kind of in a very quality position with their lower half when they're hitting. And that is a super super easy way to start. But then also one thing I see a lot of the youth athletes lack is stability. And I think kind of training stability in a sense doesn't have to be crazy, but some of the stuff with the water bags can be really good. Some med balls can be really good. Even just the sense of stability of, not just their kind of joints from their elbow and their shoulder, but stability of the torso, stability of the hips, etc. Just helps really take a lot of stress off the arm when everything's all over the place and there's no tension really holding anything in. Some of these guys are throwing pretty hard, throwing in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and that's still a lot of stress that goes through the arm, especially for a body that's not physically developed yet. So stability in the lower half are the two main things.
One of the questions that I always get that I hope that you can answer, from the younger age groups, I say like 8 to 13 ish, pitching out of the stretch and learning how to get to that gather position, as you call it, in a stable, balanced, strong position. Would you say that would benefit younger pitchers, kind of simplifying their movement patterns at a young age, just learning how to gather that energy and let it drop and drive towards the pitching towards home plate?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I think, the stretch is important for two reasons, right? First off, it's a very simplified, version of delivery that, can help repeatability and can help kind of the, just consistency of the delivery. But also, I said this to one of our athletes the other day. Like I said, second and third, one out, bottom of the seventh inning, where are you pitching from? Bottom of the third, bases loaded, no outs, where are you pitching from? Okay, so the most important pitches of our career are made out of the stretch. So that's where we need to practice the most. That's where we need to get rock solid, really, really good. Nobody on, nobody out, right? We go 2-0, it's not the end of the world, but second and third, one out, we're 2-0, 3-0. Now all of a sudden, we're in a hole. Learning that from a young age, I think, is super important.
And I think it's important for parents to begin to recognize, if you could kind of give us some of those clues that parents and coaches can look for in the younger pitchers that may begin to signal whether the lower half is getting tired, maybe, the arm is starting to fatigue. What are some of the clues that we can look for as young coaches or parents to say, hey, that might be the wall, that might be the limit right there for my pitcher?
Definitely. I think even just, something as simple as just kind of labored breathing, stuff like that, not being able to kind of collect themselves is the first thing, just body language. But then the arm kind of dropping the slot a little bit, the spinning off, trying to create a lot of power rotationally. That's not necessarily what we're trying to do. We're really pitching is simple, right? It's just a 90-degree move, right? Where we all start kind of as a righty, we start facing third base, lefty, we start facing first base. And all we're trying to do is rotate towards home, right? It's only a 90-degree rotation. So if you see somebody trying to over rotate significantly, that can tell you that their lower half's a little bit tired. They're getting out of positions and they're trying to create force through somewhere that they're not necessarily supposed to, and it all ends up here extending through the arm, which can be dangerous if it's done the wrong way.
And I always want to give parents one of the biggest clues that your athletes getting tired, particularly in the lower half, is if you start to notice a lot of balls going high
Mm-hmm.
or going arm side, you start to see them pushing the ball arm side. If they're a right-handed hitter and a right-handed hitter, you're going to start to see the balls go up and towards the hitter. That's often a clue. My legs are getting tired, and it might be time for me to get out before I hurt my arm.
Mm-hmm.
Next question: how can young athletes incorporate pitch-safe guidelines like pitch counts, rest periods into their training to ensure long-term health and success? I noticed that PitchSafe, with regard to the Lions Den, you have like specific training routines or things that
Mm-hmm.
kids can do at home, on their own, or in the backyard that they can do in order to ensure arm health.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest difference between what's kind of run of the mill right now is that, we'll never have an athlete get off a mound 2 times in a row, 2 days, 2 back-to-back days. I think a lot of times you're seeing pitch counts, certain pitch limits, and coaches kind of abuse these where it's like you have 50 pitches a weekend, but the kid's throwing 25 on Friday and 25 on Saturday. And you rarely see this at the major league level. Nevertheless, a 12B baseball game, and that's something that's really putting guys' arms at risk. And it's not necessarily getting hurt at 12, but it's doing that at 12, 13, 14 that can lead to something major happening at 17 and 18. So I think that's the major thing, is not necessarily getting off the mound twice at back-to-back days. And then just the general principle of kind of 2-2-2, right? Over the course of a week, you want to have 2 high-intent days, 2 medium-intent days, and 2 low-intent days. You never want to have one of those back-to-back. So you never really want to go 2 medium-intent days back-to-back either. If you go 2 low-intent days, that's okay. But kind of just operating in that general principle, I think, can really help save a lot of arms. And also starting to understand, while you mentioned PitchSafe, coming to market here hopefully in 2026, start to understand a little bit about how, the 6'2" 12-year-old who weighs 150 pounds is a heck of a lot different than the 5'2", 80-pound, pitcher, right? And that matters a lot when it comes to throwing workload, when it comes to stress on the arm, stress on the body, stress on the mind. It all matters. And so, there's going to be a lot more of an individualized approach coming here in 2026. We're excited about it.
I really encourage parents be on the lookout. It's going to be a great app for you as parents as well as young coaches to really help monitor on an everyday basis with regard to arm health, mental health, physical health in general. Last question for today, Matt, is what role does mental preparation play in creating a strong pitching foundation, and how can young pitchers use simple mental toughness techniques to stay focused during a game?
I love that question. I think it's everything, right? I think it's at the foundation of getting better as a player and as a pitcher, right? And I think it comes down to one word I like, it's belief, right? And so you got to believe in yourself. You got to find somebody who's around you that believe in you as well. And we see guys at the lines then constantly, day in and day out, who, you know, are getting better and metrically better, right? Their velocity is going up. They're throwing more strikes. Their pitches are better. But it's been a week, and we haven't changed anything drastically. We've just simply helped them believe in themselves and have that confidence to be able to step on the gas, to be able to say, "Here's why I'm here. I'm showing up because I want this," and really kind of taking ownership of their career. I think that's probably one of the biggest things from a mental standpoint that, as a parent, you can kind of look for in a coach, look for in a team, and look for in your son. Is ultimately is he being inspired to drive and give it everything he's got in the field every day. Then after that, this is maybe a little bit more advanced, but starting to do some in-game visualization. Like this can be something that can really transform an athlete's career, is the ability to every time you get the ball back, have some type of routine where you take a deep breath or whatever, but you're essentially seeing what you want to happen before it does happen. And what you'll find is when you do it the correct way, you start to develop a habit, and then you start to just see what's going to happen, and you start to just know it's going to happen, and then it starts to happen more often than it doesn't. And that's what the best in the game do. And training that from a young age can be super great.
I often tell parents that ask me that question, if you watch particularly Tyler from high school through college through professional baseball, he would always kind of take his foot and kind of wipe the mound, meaning, okay, the last pitch is gone. Now I'm on to the next pitch. And you really want to, as Matt stated, have visualization of the pitch you're about to execute, to have positive thought processes and breathe, take that deep breath in, let it out, and then execute. And I think that's a big part of development that we don't talk enough about. We focus so much on the arm, and we don't talk about the mind or the core or the lower half. And that is really what makes a pitcher have a healthy and longer career, is the positive nature of your mindset, as well as thinking about your total body as opposed to just your arm when it comes to pitching. Matt, I want to say thank you very much. Parents, Lions Den, it's on X, it's on Instagram. Do you have a website up there yet, Captain? Lions Den?
Yeah, we do. LionsNHGX.com. And feel free to throw me the follow as well on X. It's mtabor22, and I'm posting a lot about guys in the den, etc. So.
MTABOR, Matt Tabor. I thank you, sir. And anything and everything to do with pitching, reach out to the Lions Den. Great people, great state. I think people now are looking for remote opportunities. We have people flying in to Houston, Greater Houston, to go to the Lions Den. Stay tuned, because Matt and Tyler will be with us each and every week sharing their pitching tips. Keep sending your questions in. We want to get all your questions answered. Thank you, Matt.